And joining us now is Maryland Senator Ben Cardin. Senator, it's really good to have you. I want to talk for just 1 second about the pilot that was on board that ship. It wasn't the captain of the ship, but a local pilot that gets on board to help them, these cargo ships, navigate the waters to help them get out. He was able to correctly assess that the ship lost power and it was going to start drifting and could potentially hit the bridge. And he was able to call out on local channels to officials who could stop traffic from getting onto that bridge. Had he not been able to do that, what might we have seen?
Well, Katie, first of all, it's good to be with you. Recognize that from what we've seen on the video, that captain had less than 5 minutes in making all the decisions that were made, including the Mayday call, including trying to direct the ship, the vessel. In those few minutes, law enforcement responded unbelievably quickly and saved lives. If they hadn't closed the bridge to vehicle traffic, there would have been many more fatalities. So lives were saved as a result of quick action on the Mayday call and on the response by local law enforcement.
The president says the federal government is going to pay for it. What is your expectation about how quickly Congress will move to approve those funds?
Well, first of all, I talked to the president yesterday. He was very clear in his public statements and his private conversations with us that the federal government will be there. He's going to use his executive power. He'll use the resources that are currently available for the immediate needs. The immediate needs is recovery and then to get the port open. We got to get that shipping lane open as quickly as possible. Every day it's closed, it's millions and millions of dollars lost to our local economy, and it affects global commerce. So the president will use his executive authority. He's not going to wait for additional congressional support. He'll move quickly, but he's going to need congressional help. And in these circumstances, we believe Congress will come together. I've heard from my colleagues on both sides of the aisle that they're there to help. I know Senator Van Hollen and I will be doing everything we can to make sure the resources are provided through Congress.
So this cargo ship had a tugboat attached to it to get it out of port, but the tugs released before it got through the harbor. At that point, it was just the pilot on board. Should there be a reconsideration about the process at these ports, whether there should be tugboats attached to these container ships, one or two, to get them safely out of the port and into open waters?
Katie, I hope that the independent investigation that is done will help answer some of those types of questions. That is a question as to whether the tugs should have been used further to get through valuable infrastructure and safety. But the normal practice is that once the vessel is under its own power, there's no further turns that are necessary, that the tugs leave the assistance. Whether that's the right policy moving forward, that's what the investigation will help us answer.
What do you make of the infrastructure of the bridge itself? Obviously, this is a huge ship that hit into it. But should there be considerations taken to how we construct these bridges to maybe be able to better withstand even a freak accident like this one?
Well, this bridge was built in the 1970s. The vessels now are much larger and much more heavier capacities. So I think we need to revisit that, and I expect that investigation will help us to determine how to build this bridge in the most effective way moving forward, the replacement bridge. But recognize that this type of vessel, its weight, the number of containers that were on it, its speed, and its loss of steering made it very difficult for any bridge to withstand that type of a collision. But the investigation will show us how we can minimize and mitigate this from ever happening again in the future. And as we rebuild this bridge, let's build it in a way that provides maximum safety.
We only have preliminary information about the victims, but we believe them to be migrants who were sending money back to family. What recourse will those families have to try to get some sort of answers for their loved one's death and potentially some financial help now that their breadwinners, if you will, for lack of a better term, are no longer with them?
Well, our prayers are with the families. This is just horrible. They are entitled to be compensated. We believe that there are certain parties that are going to be held responsible. That will be part of the process. but we are assessing to make sure that all of the people who have been damaged, it's not just the victims and their families. There's going to be businesses that are going to be literally put out of business unless we can help them because of the impact of the port being closed. There's workers that are not going to be able to get paychecks. We have a lot of accountability as a result of this incident, and we appreciate the fact that President Biden said that he'll be there to help us. The federal government will be there to help us, but also those responsible need to be held accountable, and that's what the investigation will show.
Senator Ben Cardin, thank you very much.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.